A clean-cut Air Force vet dies in his sleep, or so it seems.
There was no ligature marks, there was no bullet wound, there was no trauma observed at all.
Has this guy had a heart attack? Did he drink too much?
But as investigators scratch the surface, a more nefarious scenario emerges.
I have to tell you something.
Even though he's 65 years of age, he's quite the ladies' man.
This adds a whole new wrinkle into this case.
To crack this mystery, Kenda and his team must nail down a crucial detail.
We had no idea what occurred during that hour and a half.
It could have been a very volatile situation.
He's gonna snap one of these days.
But it's our mission to find out. First reports are never to be believed. Don't put something in my head. Just tell me where. I will go there and I will determine what we've got. There's one thing that never changes: murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved. Somebody has to look out for the victim. If you kill, I will find you.
Girl, I can't believe you gave him your number.
It may be late, but Carol McClendon and Rhonda Simmons are still riding high after a night on the town.
Girl, he was cute.
Carol's gonna drop Rhonda off at her townhouse.
Wait, what's going on at your mom's house?
Carol points out to Rhonda, but there's an ambulance parked there.
Can you imagine what they'd be thinking? Is my family in danger? Are they hurt? They have no idea what's going on, but they know that it's something very serious.
Oh my God.
I'm often up several times during the night, and sometimes I cannot go back to sleep. That particular morning, I was standing in front of the window, looking at the city lights, wondering what everyone was up to at that moment. And the phone rang, and I knew that somebody was up to something.
It's Kenda. Okay, I'll be right there.
Careful, Joe.
I will.
"20 minutes later, Kenda pulls up to a suburban home awash in police lights. Detective Perry Freeman is already on the scene.
Hey, Lieutenant. Sorry to drag you out at this hour.
Anything else going on? In '94, I was one of 6 homicide detectives that worked under Joe Kenda. And when I arrived, there were a number of uniforms already there. So what do we got?
Victim's name is Willie Jackson, age 65.
He spent 20 years in the Air Force. Now this guy, he looks like he's 45. He's in great shape for a 65-year-old man.
You know, he's somebody who really takes care of himself. He works at the fitness center at Fort Carson.
His wife's a lot younger, maybe mid-40s. He lived here with her and her teenage son.
So who made the call?
Wife did.
Said she found her husband on the bedroom floor unresponsive, no pulse.
Thinks it might have been alcohol poisoning.
Alcohol poisoning. What do you think?
I only did a walkthrough, but she could be right.
The Major Crimes Unit responds to any suspicious death. And in a case like this, I don't think anybody knew if we had alcohol poisoning or if it could be something else.
Now let's go take a closer look while we wait for the coroner to arrive.
Normally when I walk into a crime scene, nobody's in there. And when I walked into this crime scene,
So what's with the full house?
there was a mob in there.
They were here when I got here.
There are 3 women and a young male standing around in this kitchen.
So who are all these people?
These 2 are the wife's daughter and a friend.
He said they saw the EMTs and they stopped on their way home. So they weren't here when this event occurred.
How about the other 2?
Well, one is his wife, Tony, and the kid is named Malik. He is the wife's son by another marriage.
So they live here. They were here when the ambulance got on scene.
We can't have them all standing around together, though.
Yes, sir.
It's important to have witnesses, but it's not important to have them in the crime scene. So my next direction was move these people out of this building.
I want you to take the 2 witnesses and put them in separate patrol cars.
Yes, sir.
Let's take a look around.
The first thing you do is make an assessment of what kind of place is this. Are things broken and out of place and turned over?
Someone runs a tight ship here.
Yeah, it sure looks that way.
I found the house to be fairly tidy, well kept. Things were in their normal places.
The one thing detectives find to be out of place is the victim himself.
When we first observed Willie's body, he was on the floor of a bedroom.
It's a strange place to lay down. Well, I guess if he was drunk.
You could smell the alcohol. So the assumption was that he had just been drinking recently.
Paramedics said they found him in that position.
In Colorado, a body is never disturbed until a coroner is present. We observe what we can see without moving the body.
On initial observation, there was no ligature marks, there was no bullet wound, there was no trauma observed at all.
Well, he could have had a heart attack. Maybe hit the bottle too hard.
Yep. There's more empties in the kitchen. Wife might have been right about the alcohol poisoning.
A person can actually drink himself to death by consuming way too much alcohol. The body functions slow down, and pretty soon you can just stop breathing.
Hey, Joe. I heard you might have a body for me.
Yeah, he's all yours. Let's talk to the witnesses.
We leave the coroner to do his work, and it's time to do our work. Let's talk to the other humans that aren't dead and see what they know about how Willie came to be the way he is.
Well, come Lt.Joe Kenda, it's Detective Freeman.
So the first person I speak to is the son, Malik. He is Tony's son. He is not Willie's son.
All right, you mind if we ask you a few questions?
He exhibits the behavior of a normal 17-year-old, sullen and quiet and distrustful of adults.
First off, I'm sorry about your stepfather.
We weren't that type.
Did you get along?
No, not really.
He said, I don't like him, and he doesn't like me either.
Where's your natural father?
He's up in Washington. Haven't talked to him in a while, though.
Why don't you tell us what happened tonight?
Malik says, I was out with friends. I didn't come home till about 11:30.
And my mom was upset. Told me to go to my room. Willie was in the mood.
Malik says that in a mood to him means that Willie's drunk. Willie's always drunk, and therefore he's always in a mood.
He always wants to come home and fight, and he doesn't stop until he passes out.
So what else did your mom say?
She told me to stay out of his way. Stay in my room.
He said, I took that advice because when he's drunk and he's angry, we really don't get along. So I just went downstairs and started watching TV.
Who the hell do you think you are? Talking to me like that.
Look at you junk-ass fool.
Malik advised that he could hear his mother and Willie upstairs arguing.
So he turned up his television so he didn't have to hear the disturbance.
According to Malik, he was up for the next few hours, and eventually hunger struck.
He noticed that the phone line had been jerked out of the wall. Not just removed, but jerked out.
Malik?
He said, my mother called to me from the master bedroom.
Yeah.
Malik! Malik!
What?
Get in here!
So Malik walked into the bedroom and saw his mother kneeling on the floor next to Willie.
She was checking for a pulse, but there was nothing. She called 911, but it was too late. He was already dead.
Excuse me, Lieutenant. Sorry to interrupt. They need you inside.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. So what do you got so far?
I'll show you. So it's totally possible that he died of natural causes or alcohol poisoning. But take a look at this.
So he rolls the victim over onto his stomach.
Looks like he might have been stabbed.
Now we have a mystery on our hands. We are summoned to this home because Mr. Willie Jackson is dead on the second floor. When the wife called 911, she said alcohol poisoning, or coroner reports he has a puncture wound that we cannot explain.
It's small, but it could go pretty deep. It's in a really bad spot.
There are important vessels that run through the thigh, one of which is the femoral artery, the main artery that supplies blood to the lower extremity.
If it was deep enough, could have hit an artery. He could have bled to death. It's too soon to say. Have to wait on the autopsy.
Right. Well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Kind of a strange place for a stabbing.
Yeah, just one wound.
We're all thinking that's a very unusual place to be stabbed. And we thought possibly he'd cut himself on something outside, or maybe he had been injured before he even came home from work. He could have fallen on something.
It's odd. Even if the wound didn't hit the artery, it seems like it still would have bled plenty.
So if we're concerned about blood loss being the significant factor here, where is it?
There's no blood on the bed or the walls.
Well, this place is clean.
And he pulls the sheets back. Ooh, now that's significant.
We found that there was a large soaking of blood into the mattress of the bed next to the body.
That's a lot of blood.
The bloodstain has been concealed by clean sheets. Why would somebody do that?
Hey, Lieutenant, can I talk to you?
Of course.
I don't know if it was connected or not, but I've answered 2 calls here today. The last one was about several hours ago.
He said somebody called 911 and we responded here on a welfare check.
Miss Jackson answered the door, said nothing going on, and she didn't need the place, so we left.
And then a couple hours later, she calls back, and now we're here.
Who made the first 911 call?
I don't know. I'll have to call dispatch to find out.
So where's the wife now?
She's right over here.
I'm gonna talk to her. Thanks.
Up to this point in the investigation, Tony hasn't been talked to yet. Now it's time to find out what was going on in this household tonight.
Who concealed blood in my crime scene?
Tony, I'm Lt.Joe Kenda. Very sorry about your husband. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
No, that's fine.
When I meet Tony, she's upset, somewhat soft-spoken.
How long did you know Willie?
We've been married for about 2 years now.
She said, I met him at the Garcia Gym on Fort Carson, where he's employed as a trainer.
Hey, can you spot me?
Absolutely.
Think I need a little help on my phone.
I think so. Go ahead, show it to me again. What do you like to do for fun?
Why are you asking me out?
Maybe.
I'm Tony.
Willie.
She said, we fell in love very quickly.
He was actually married at the time, but wasn't happy, so he left her for me.
And it's your belief he died of alcohol poisoning?
When I met him, I knew he liked to drink, but I never realized it was this bad.
She said, I noticed in the last few months that the drinking became a problem and we began to argue a lot.
Can you walk me through what happened?
Willie came home late. He usually gets off at 9, but didn't get here until 10:30. I was on the phone with my ex-husband at the time, discussing some issues about our son, Malik.
Cornelius, he needs his father. You should come out and see him.
Where you at?
She said he was so drunk he could barely stand up.
Can't you see I'm on the phone? Oh my God, is that blood? What the hell did you do now?
None of your damn business. Who the hell are you talking to?
Will you lower your voice? It's just Malik's dad.
Oh, that son of a bitch. Give me that.
Willie!
She said he was so angry he jerked the phone line out of the wall to prevent me from continuing to talk to my ex-husband.
He gets so jealous over the smallest things. I was so mad. I yelled at him to go to bed and sleep it off. And finally, he slunk off.
Tony believes her ex-husband, Cornelius, must have been worried when the line went dead. Apparently, He called 911 to have police check on her.
But she sent the officers away because at the time they arrived, there was no problem, she said.
What happened next?
Well, Malik had come home, and I sent him to his room in case Willie woke up. I didn't want any more tension between those two. And I guess the whole time, Willie kept going on his whiskey. So I went in to check on him. Oh my God, Willie, are you okay? So much blood. Did you drink all this?
She said he mumbled something. She couldn't understand what it was.
Okay. Just lift your head up.
But she put a pillow under his head and decided that she needed to clean these sheets before any stains set in.
So I got that going, and something just didn't feel right. I had this sick feeling, so I went back to check on him again. Oh my God, Willie! Malik!
Why?
Malik, get in here!
She called Malik, her son, to come up, and at that point they realized it was probably time to call 911.
Here's the bed sheets and rags that I used to clean the carpet in the bedroom.
Okay, now this is important. Did you clean up blood anywhere else in the house besides the bedroom?
No, why?
So, well, he's got a puncture wound in his leg. And if it hit a major vein or an artery, that's possible he could have bled to death.
Seriously?
We're also considering the possibility that he was stabbed this evening.
You mean someone could have killed him?
She appeared to be very shocked.
Can you think of anyone that might want to harm your husband?
No.
You mentioned he left work at 9 and didn't get home until 10:30. Any idea where he stopped on the way?
He didn't say.
Here's my card. If you think of anything else, give me a call. I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
We're gonna find out who did this. I promise.
So we know Willie is alive at or about 9 p.m., and he's alive at 10:30 p.m. when he comes home.
What if Willie Jackson encountered someone on his way home from work and was stabbed in the process?
Many things can happen in 90 minutes. We need to know where Willie Jackson was for the 90 minutes that he's unaccounted for in his timeline.
Hoping to find out, Kenda sends a detective to Willie's place of employment.
The Garcia Gym on Fort Carson opens at 5 o'clock in the morning because GIs have to get their exercise in before they go to work.
Excuse me, can I speak to the manager?
Yeah, sure. I'm Jose Peralta. How can I help you?
I hate to tell you this, but one of your employees, Willie Jackson, was found dead last night.
That detective speaks to Willie's boss at the gymnasium, tells him that Willie's dead, which the guy cannot believe that he is.
Think it was foul play?
Well, I'm trying to rule that out. What can you tell me about Willie? What kind of employee was he?
Well, he was great, actually.
Jose told Detective Freeman that Willie was a very good worker, always on time, never any problems with him.
The people he worked with really loved him.
He never complained once if I needed something.
Do you know what time he left work last night?
He refereed a volleyball game, so 9, give or take. I can ask some of the other guys that worked that game and get back to you with the exact time if you'd like. I want to help.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Listen, you know if Willie had a problem with alcohol?
And Jose indicated that, well, you know, I could smell alcohol on him, but he was such a good worker that never interfered with his work, so I didn't go there.
All right, well, here's my card. And keep in touch.
We're still trying to figure out what our storyline is here between all these different players. And then...
Come in.
Lieutenant, there's Miss Jackson here to see you. Says she has something important to tell you.
Okay, send her in.
Right this way, ma'am.
I have to tell you something.
All right, have a seat.
I was thinking, and there's something you should know.
Oh? And what do you need to tell me?
Willie was cheating on me.
Why didn't you tell us this earlier?
I'm sorry. My mind's all over the place.
Even though Willie Jackson is 65 years of age, he's quite the ladies' man. What if he stops by his girlfriend's place on his way home and she stabs him? It's happened before. We need to know if it happened again. We're investigating the death of Willie Jackson, who it turns out has been a busy guy. His wife says that he's cheating on her and he has a girlfriend, and she thinks his girlfriend may be involved in his death.
So, what makes you think he has a girlfriend?
Well, about a week ago, I was looking in his truck and I found some condoms. The hell?
The wife, Tony, tells me they don't use condoms when they have sex. Obviously, he uses condoms with this other woman.
Now I'm wondering if he was with her last night before he came home. I found this note.
So now we've introduced yet another person. Who is Jenny, and is Jenny married?
It's entirely possible Willie stopped by Jenny's house after work.
Jenny, you home?
That's Robert.
And her husband came home unexpectedly.
Back door. Go.
Obviously, we want to talk to Jenny. So we track her down at her residence.
Lieutenant Kenda, this is Detective Freeman from CSPD. We're looking for Jenny Harris.
That's me.
Much like his current wife, Tony, she is young and she is very attractive.
What's this all about?
We're investigating the death of Willie Jackson.
She admits that, yeah, I know Willie. He's in a large circle of friends that I have.
None of us can believe what happened. It's really horrible.
We'd like to ask you a few questions.
Okay, it'll have to be quick. My husband's coming home soon.
It shouldn't take long.
Come on in.
We say we're there because we have information that leads us to believe that she had a relationship with Willie Jackson.
Relationship? No. I told you we were just friends.
We were told that you were having an affair. Is that true?
I'd really rather not discuss that right now.
Jenny, you can be straight with us. Your husband doesn't need to know.
We want her to understand clearly that we're not going to reveal her involvement, or sexual or otherwise, with this individual to anyone she may be associated with.
We just need to make sure that you and your husband weren't involved in his death.
What? Fine. Willie and I were seeing each other. It was nothing serious, just casual.
She finally admits to being involved with him.
You know, he's a handsome guy. Wasn't really love between us. But I haven't even seen him since last week.
Is your husband aware of the relationship?
No.
Are you sure?
Believe me, if he knew, I would know about it.
Although Jenny seems truthful, detectives can't just take her word for it.
Fortunate for us, we're dealing with a very confined time frame. To commit a murder, you must at a minimum have the opportunity to do so.
Can you tell us where your husband was last night between 9 and 10:30 p.m.?
Yes, he was with me. We were at my sister's house playing cards until midnight. I can give you her information.
I'm checking it.
Yeah.
We called Jenny's sister to verify that they had no opportunity to be involved in the death of Willie Jackson on the prior evening.
Checks out.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
Wait, you're not going to talk to my husband about this, are you?
We're not concerned about that. We'll let ourselves out.
I know more secrets and have forgotten more secrets than most people will ever know. My only concern is who caused Willie Jackson to be no longer alive.
With their lead up in smoke, Kenda and Freeman are back to the most basic of questions. Was Willie Jackson even murdered?
Hey, Doc.
Hey, Lieutenant.
You finished with the Willie Jackson autopsy yet?
As a matter of fact, I just got the toxicology report back.
The coroner said he did have a very high blood alcohol content, but that's meaningless and very common in an alcoholic.
The leg wound is the culprit. And it's not an accidental injury where he ran into something sharp. It was made by a steak knife. And it's in the damnedest spot, too, the Hunter's Canal.
This area of the thigh has some veins and arteries that come from the heart, And so a fairly minor wound could cause extensive bleeding.
It severed a vein, and there is some damage to the femoral artery. So the method of death is exsanguination, and I'm ruling it a homicide.
Exsanguination is essentially a very fancy term for bleeding to death.
Here we are. This is a scientifically established murder.
Given that Willie Jackson died a slow death, it's unclear what time he was stabbed. It's even less clear who stabbed him.
Absent any other suspects, one person who's obviously a person of interest is the wife of Willie Jackson, one Toni Jackson. At this point, we want to find out as much as possible about the relationship between Toni and Willie Jackson. So we decide we want to talk to Willie's ex-wife, Cynthia. We want to ask her two things. We want to ask her about Toni. We want to ask her about Willie.
Yeah, I heard he's dead. It's so hard to believe.
Can you tell us a little bit about him?
She responds about Willie that he is a good man and he does drink, but he's always been a good provider. She always speaks well of him until he meets this evil woman.
But that Toni, now she's a piece of work. Now she's the kind of crazy who would kill her husband.
Why is that?
She tried to kill me.
What?
Oh my. Well, that's interesting. We're investigating the stabbing death of Willie Jackson, and we believe his wife Toni is involved in his death, but we don't have enough evidence to prove it. And now, Willie's ex-wife is telling us that Toni tried to kill her as well.
Can you tell us what happened?
She tried to convince Willie to leave me and marry her, and I was not gonna have that. So I thought it was a phase. I thought it was something he'd get over, but that witch came after me.
The ex-wife says that she was driving down the street one day,
and another car was driving the opposite direction. The car looked like Toni's.
Did you get a good look at the person driving?
No, but I knew it was her.
And at that point, she told Willie, I'm giving you a divorce. Toni is crazy. I don't want anything to do with her.
Did you report the incident?
What proof did I have?
And that's why you think that she might have killed Willie?
Yeah. She's crazy.
All right, well, thank you for your time. I'm sorry about your ex-husband.
so you have to kind of disregard what she says about Toni, because she absolutely despises Toni. She broke up her marriage. But if Toni really did throw that rock, who knows what else she could be capable of?
Toni certainly fits the bill. I mean, if he's a womanizing drunk who picks fights with her kids, that's a motive to kill somebody.
True, but that wouldn't hold up in court without evidence. Plus, we're unaware of Willie's whereabouts for 90 minutes.
There's a lot of possibilities of what might have happened. Between when he got off work and when he arrived home, he could have had an altercation with someone.
Or he could have gotten stabbed after he arrived home, and that also works.
Take this. Hello?
As this investigation is progressing, Detective Freeman got a phone call.
Hey, this is Jose Peralta from Garcia Fitness Center. We met the morning after Willie died.
Yes, of course.
The boss informs us that he spoke to a co-worker of Willie's who was working the night of Willie's death.
Remember how I told you Willie refereed a volleyball game that night? Well, I thought it was over around 9, but turns out it was a close game. It went really long.
Yeah?
My guy said Willie didn't leave the gym until 10:05.
Really? Okay, hey, thanks very much. So? So it turns out Willie left work at 10, which means he went straight home.
So there is no other Mr. X or Miss X involved that's in the house, and who's in that house? Well, Toni and Malik certainly are.
But was it Willie's wife or stepson who had it out for him? For insight, Kenda and Freeman turned to a family friend.
Willie has a friend that he spent a lot of time with, is in the service with.
Thanks for coming in on such short notice.
I'm just really shook up about Willie.
He tells us that Willie has his issues. He likes to drink. He likes the ladies.
He certainly wasn't the greatest husband in the world, but he was a really good friend to me.
Has Willie mentioned to you about any issues at home?
He came to me seeking advice about his stepson.
Raising a teenage boy at age 17 is not a simple process when you're not his father. And so Willie asked his friend for advice.
Kid is out of control. He doesn't want to go to work. He doesn't want to go to school. He brings his friends over all the hours of the day and night. And anytime we ask him to do anything, he just won't listen.
I think it's just a phase.
At that age, teenagers are going through all kinds of hormonal issues. He was probably just coming into manhood, just trying to find himself.
His friend explained to Willie that that's normal for a teenage boy that's been uprooted from his father, so he's going to be an angry young man.
When I say angry, I'm not exaggerating. I can see it in his eyes. He's going to snap one of these days.
I think Willie was afraid of him.
Afraid that Malik might turn violent?
Definitely.
Well, no. Is he capable of murder? Of course he is. He's a human.
Kenda wonders, did a fight between Willie and his stepson turn deadly? And did Tony help cover for her son?
We want to talk to Cornelius, his natural father, to find out about Malik as a person. Is he capable of violent behavior?
Hi, this is Lieutenant Kenda with the Colorado Springs Police Department. I'd like to ask you a few questions regarding the death of Willie Jackson. Is now a good time?
Sure, what can I do for you?
I said, so why is it that Malik is living with his mother and the late Willie Jackson and not with you?
Well, I recently retired from the Army and was looking for a job up here in Washington. Now, Malik was living with me then, but he was having problems in school.
What type of problems?
Kids picking on him, starting fights. He started cutting classes and his grades dropped. Thought the change of pace might do him some good, give him a fresh start.
He said, so I discussed it with my ex-wife, and she agreed she and her new husband, Willie, would deal with Malik.
And when did he move here to the Springs?
About 3 months ago, but things haven't gotten any better. The night Willie died, Tony actually called me, asking me what she should do about Malik.
Cornelius indicated that at that time, while he was on the phone with Tony, he heard Willie come home.
He was screaming at her. I heard her yell in the background for me to call 911.
And then the line went dead. Then he called to have the police check on what's going on in that house. So we now know that Cornelius, in fact, was the person who made that first phone call.
I was really worried about Tony and my son. I mean, they had me freaking out.
Let me ask you this. Which do you think is more likely? That your ex-wife would be violent toward Willie, or that your son would be violent protecting his mother?
I don't know. I don't want to think any of those things happen.
Well, I appreciate the help. Thank you.
With Tony and Malik equally good suspects, Kenda hatches a plan to tip the scales.
When we start to focus on one or two people, we'll again review the physical evidence, seeing if it gives us a better insight into what happened.
What's this all about?
Mrs. Jackson, we have a warrant to search the premises for further evidence.
What? What more could you possibly need?
Please step aside.
Well, right away, Tony's very defensive, like, we already told you everything that happened.
Luckily for Kenda, his crime scene technicians have something that can bring the truth to light.
Luminol is a chemical agent that crime scene investigators can spray at crime scenes. Essentially, it's a way to detect hidden blood or blood that's been cleaned up at a scene.
So we search this entire house. They spray the suspected areas where blood might be. It will cause the blood stain to fluoresce in the dark. It turns a weird blue-green color.
Is everybody ready?
Sure. Wow.
And we find blood all over this house. When humans die from bleeding to death, their blood can tell you the story of the death. All of it speaks to, look at this. This is why Willie Jackson is dead. When we began this investigation, we had a crime scene with very little blood. But after spraying luminol, there is blood all over this house. Without a doubt, this is where Willie Jackson was dead.
There's blood stains on the walls. There's blood stains on the doorknobs. There's blood stains on the floor. A lot more than the human eye would ever have seen.
And it's very obvious that this is a much bigger deal than we thought initially.
Looks like he was stabbed in the kitchen, near the phone.
And they made a huge effort to cover up the evidence. Must have taken them hours.
Investigators begin removing carpet and tiles to place into evidence.
You guys are wrecking my house.
Well, that's not our intention. We're just doing our jobs.
So she is coming unstuck. Now she's very, very worried and has a very, very guilty appearance.
What, you think me and my son did this?
Well, I find it awfully strange that you said the only place you cleaned up blood was in this bedroom. And now we're finding it all over the house.
But my son had nothing to do with this.
Then who did?
I don't know.
We're looking at her, and she's unable to maintain eye contact. Her body language is a flight body language. She's a nervous wreck.
You sure you don't want to change your statement? Anything you want to add?
I already told you the truth.
I mean, it's pretty obvious to me, based on my own experience, that Tony's up to her neck in the death of her husband.
But Kenda still needs Tony to admit that. And he knows just how to coerce her into doing so.
Okay. Are you willing to take a polygraph to prove it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Fine. Come on down.
Okay. Just have a seat for me right here.
She comes to the station, you know, all dressed and ready to go and seems very confident.
Have you ever done one of these before?
No.
It's okay. It's real simple.
But her personality starts to change. She starts getting a little bit fidgety.
To me, a polygraph in and by itself is not a scientific instrument. It's why they're not admissible in court. What is useful is if the person believes that that machine is going to say whether they're telling the truth or not and cause them to make a statement.
Is that too tight?
You know, when you sit down in that chair and the polygraph test is about to start, that's when you maybe realize, wait a minute, maybe I'm not able to kind of lie my way through this.
Miss Jackson, are you okay?
Stop. I'm not gonna do this.
Just sit tight.
So the polygraphist went out and told Kenda, hey, she's not taking the test.
I stabbed him. I stabbed Willie. I was trying to defend myself.
It's okay. Just tell us what happened.
He came home from work that night already drunk. So drunk. I think he always has a few on his way home. All right, you should come see him.
Who you on the phone with?
Hold on. Willie, lower your voice. It's just Malik's dad.
Who the hell you think you are? Talking to me like that.
Willie, you drunk-ass fool. Can't you see him on the phone?
They get into a pretty good argument. They're in a shoving match now.
Hello? Man, come get your wife and kids. I don't want them here no more.
I'm gonna call the cops if you don't stop. Cornelius, call the cops!
And he then rips the phone out of the wall. And he's pretty upset.
What the hell is wrong with you? He took off after that. I think he was scared that the police might actually show up, and of course they did. But by then, things had settled down. And Malik was still downstairs, so I thought things were okay.
Do you know where Willie went during that time period?
I have no idea.
Tony explains that after the police left, Willie eventually came out of hiding.
What? Are you trying to get me arrested?
Willie, I'm sick of this. It's the same thing every night.
Why don't you just leave then?
Yeah, okay, maybe I will.
He is standing over her. He is choking her.
You gonna learn to do what the hell I say. Huh? Huh? You hear me? You listening to me? Huh?
And she grabbed a steak knife.
He lets go of her, and as he walks away, she just poked him in the back of the leg.
That blade finds the only place in his back of his left thigh that would kill him. It is magic. Or in the case of Willie Jackson, the worst possible luck.
He went to bed. I thought he'd sleep off the booze, so I started cleaning up before Malik came upstairs. I was so upset I didn't even know he was dying.
She never thought in her wildest dreams that, stabbing someone in the leg like that could cause their death.
In my opinion, I do not believe Tony had any intent to kill him. She wanted to hurt him, and that's not the same thing.
After reviewing the case, the DA concludes that Tony Jackson was acting in self-defense and declines to press murder charges.
She legitimately seemed to be telling the truth about being fearful for her life. He's choking her. He's highly intoxicated. Grabbing the knife was just kind of an instinctive thing. But I think she actually thought things could escalate to the point that she could possibly die that evening.
In my view, her crime was cleaning up blood, as she was ultimately charged with.
As a result of that, she was sentenced to 3 years of supervised probation.
What's sad about this is that Willie, had he not been so drunk and passed out, he maybe could have saved himself. If he realized, I'm bleeding really badly, maybe I can call for help myself.
In married couples, the possibility of tragedy coming from constant argument is immense. Your behavior drives your life, and your behavior can also end it very suddenly.
Ein tiefgreifendes Drama erschütterte die friedliche Gemeinschaft von Arlington im Bundesstaat Texas. Als ein älteres vietnamesisches Ehepaar in seiner eigenen Wohnung auf grausame Weise sein Leben lassen musste. Long Nguyen und seine Ehefrau Hong Lee, die im Jahr 2000 ihre Heimat Vietnam verlassen hatten, um in den Vereinigten Staaten von Amerika den sogenannten amerikanischen Traum zu verwirklichen, galten als hart arbeitende und tief in ihrer Kultur verwurzelte Menschen. Sie bauten sich durch Fleiß eine Existenz in der Textilbranche auf und waren für ihre Großzügigkeit sowie ihre Verbundenheit zu Familie und Tradition geschätzt. Doch das Schicksal nahm eine dunkle Wendung. Als wirtschaftliche Schwierigkeiten die Familie dazu veranlassten, Hilfe in der spirituellen Welt zu suchen, in der Hoffnung, einen vermeintlichen Fluch von ihrem Geschäft abzuwenden, wandten sie sich an eine in Houston ansässige spirituelle Beraterin namens Daphne Wright. Diese Frau, die sich als Retterin in der Not präsentierte, entwickelte sich für die Familie jedoch zu einer unerbittlichen Bedrohung. Als die Beamten des Arlington Police Department am 10. Juni 2012 nach einem Hinweis des Schwiegersohnes Zhao schon den Tatort betraten, bot sich ihnen ein Bild des Schreckens. Die betagten Opfer waren in einem kleinen Schrank entdeckt worden, ihre Körper durch Klebeband in einer entmenschlichten Weise fixiert. Die Szenerie war mit einer solchen Brutalität gestaltet, dass selbst erfahrene Mordermittler, die seit über 20 Jahren im Dienst standen, von der Grausamkeit zutiefst erschüttert waren. Zunächst deutete alles auf einen missglückten Raubüberfall oder die Tat einer Straßengang hin, da am Tatort gezielt Spuren wie eine blau gefärbte Bandader, Bierflaschen und Reste von Betäubungsmitteln hinterlassen wurden, um eine kriminelle Signatur vorzutäuschen. Doch die Ermittler ließen sich von dieser inszenierten Inszenierung nicht täuschen. Es blieb ein Fall, der über Jahre hinweg keine greifbaren Ergebnisse lieferte und schließlich zu einer kalten Akte wurde. Die entscheidende Wende trat erst 3 Jahre später ein, als eine DNA-Probe, da er von einem am Tatort gefundenen Marihuana-Rest gesichert worden war, im System der Bundesbehörden einen Treffer ergab. Der junge Willie Guillory war im Jahr 2015 aufgrund eines anderen Verbrechens in das Register aufgenommen worden. Die Vernehmung von Willie deckt ein erschütterndes Komplott auf. Er und sein Onkel Bobby Guillory waren von Daphne Wright angeheuert worden, um das Ehepaar zu ermorden. Wright, die ihre Kunden durch ein Netz aus psychologischer Manipulation und der Drohung mit angeblichen Flüchen in eine existenzielle Abhängigkeit trieb, hatte die finanziellen Notlagen der Familie rücksichtslos ausgenutzt. Bobby Guillory, Dan Spader, dass Wright die treibende Kraft war und von den Lebensversicherungen der Opfer profitieren wollte, um die aufgelaufenen Schulden aus ihren spirituellen Dienstleistungen einzutreiben. Der Prozess gegen Daphne Wright im Jahr 2019 offenbarte die Abgründe menschlicher Gier. Trotz der Aussage von Chao Chan, der gegen Immunität über die Manipulationen und den Druck durch Wright berichtete, blieb für die Ermittler ein bitterer Nachgeschmack. Während Wright zu einer lebenslangen Freiheitsstrafe ohne die Möglichkeit auf Bewährung verurteilt wurde, entzog sich der Schwiegersohn Chao Chan einer strafrechtlichen Verfolgung. Die Tragödie um Long Nguyen und Hong Li erinnert eindringlich daran, wie gefährlich es ist, wenn Verzweiflung und der Glaube an esoterische Versprechen auf skrupellose Ausbeutung treffen. Trotz der Verurteilung der Haupttäterin bleibt bei den beteiligten Beamten das Gefühl zurück, dass die Gerechtigkeit in diesem komplexen Geflecht aus Verrat und menschlicher Tragik keine vollständige Antwort auf das Leid dieser Familie finden konnte. Es bleibt das Gedenken an ein Ehepaar, das in der Fremde ein neues Zuhause suchte und dessen Vertrauen auf tragische Weise missbraucht wurde. Human beings are strange creatures. They kill for the most ridiculous reasons you could possibly imagine, and sometimes they do it with a smile on their faces, as if it were nothing more than tidying up the house on a weekend afternoon. My, you look at a person and think you see a soul, but in reality, you might just be looking at a mask constructed by deception. Back in March of 1987, in the Wilton Manors area of Florida, we received a call. It was a peaceful place, the kind of town people moved to just to get away from the noise of daily life. Yet right there, we found 37-year-old Bernie James, slumped over in his vehicle. His wife, Patty, seemed heartbroken, but in this business, I have learned a hard truth. If someone tells you a story that is simply too perfect, it is usually a fabrication. She claimed that her husband was fixing the car. Then she encountered a strange man, and from there, everything descended into tragedy. I have seen many things in my life, but the dishonesty of this woman was truly chilling. She pretended to be a flight attendant. She invented entirely different personalities just to manipulate people. She did not just kill her husband. She murdered the truth itself. She dragged a man named Tim out into her vortex, making him believe her twisted tales of abuse. I tell you, you have to ask yourself who you are really facing when you look into the eyes of people like this. Bernie, a Marine, a father, and a firefighter who always wanted to help others, ultimately became the prey for the very woman he had welcomed into his home to fill the void left by his late wife. When we processed the scene, we found no evidence of a standard robbery. The wallet had been rifled through, yet nothing was missing. The oil cans were arranged like a bad stage play. Inconsistency is the greatest enemy of the criminal. As we dug into her life, we uncovered a sophisticated web of scams. From pretending her son was deaf to solicit money, to isolating her family from the world, everything was a performance. You have to be kidding me. A mother, a wife, could she truly be that cold-blooded? Eventually, the truth surfaced. Timot, under the pressure of the investigation, confessed to that horrific act. He admitted that Patty had orchestrated everything, from plotting to poison him with apple and apricot seeds to using brute force to end Bernie's life because he intended to divorce her. She could not accept rejection. She could not bear to lose her control. When she stood before us, she performed one last act, blaming it all on an alternative personality named TJ. It was laughable. That is not pathology. That is pure, unadulterated evil. Watching Bernie's children, those kids who had to endure the heartbreak of losing their mother only to witness their father being murdered by the very woman who was supposed to protect them, I felt a bitterness I cannot describe. This world is not sure people like Patty James. Individuals who hide the monster within beneath a veneer of normalcy. In the end, justice was served. She received a life sentence, and that is the only place she belongs. Reflecting on the nature of humanity often keeps me awake at night. We are the sum of our choices, and Patty chose to become the darkness. Would you like me to delve deeper into the criminal psychology of Patty James in this case? Or would you like me to analyze the specific illogical inconsistencies in her initial statements based on my years of investigative experience? Human beings are strange creatures. They kill for the most ridiculous reasons you could ever imagine. You see a beautiful face, a radiant smile, and you think the world is a peaceful place. But then behind closed doors, darkness rises in ways you cannot believe. I have witnessed things that would make your skin crawl, and I tell you, jealousy is a poison far worse than any chemical you could find in a storage shed. My, look at the case of Shirley Pierce in Kannapolis, North Carolina. A wonderful woman, a respected grandmother, standing on the threshold of happiness with her fiancé, Chuck Reeves. But in July of 2013, instead of wedding bells, people heard a horrific 911 call. When I walked into that house, the air was thick with a deadly silence. The smell of bleach was so overpowering it made you want to vomit. There were blotchy patterns on the carpet, signs of an attempt to clean up with chemicals. And there, in the bathtub with the water still running, was Shirley. She had been stabbed multiple times in the neck. A brutal attack, full of hatred, not the kind of thing a common burglar would do. I tell you, when you hear a spouse call in and say they think their partner may have killed someone, you know you are facing a grim reality. Irvin Johnson, the husband of the perpetrator Marlene Johnson, did exactly that. Marlene, a woman whose reason was eaten away by jealousy and obsession. She could not accept the truth that her husband was not having an affair with Shirley. She stalked Shirley like a predator, using drones, hiring private investigators. She turned her life into a mad mission to destroy an innocent woman. You see, jealousy is not love. It is a pathological possession. And when people like Marlene cannot control reality, they resort to a knife. I tell you, the fact that Marlene hid items and used bleach to clean up blood proved she knew what she was doing. But she forgot one thing: DNA never lies. It was there on the shower curtain as a damning indictment. And when the jury returned a guilty verdict, Marlene gasped and collapsed. A final act of weakness from someone who had committed a vicious crime. Yet that is not all. Look at the tragedy of the Burns sisters in St. Petersburg, Florida. Debbie Burns, a woman with neurological disabilities, had her life taken by her own sister, Barbara, who had spent 40 years of her life acting as a nursemaid, a caretaker, and the entire world for her. You have to be kidding me. A sister who kills her own sibling and lives with the corpse for months among air fresheners, scented candles, and plastic sheeting. That is not the crime of a typical cold-blooded killer. It is the total breakdown of a human being after decades of forcing herself to bear the unreasonable demands of her sister, the financial impasse, and the psychological pressure weighing down upon her. Barbara had shot her sister while she was sleeping, then lived in that house like a ghost. When we found the remains of Debbie, I was truly stunned. The brutal circumstances of life can create devils even out of the most decent people. When Barbara confessed, she still could not remember why she had pulled the trigger. It was the breaking point of patience, terrible loneliness, a bitter lesson about unrequited sacrifice, and how people lose themselves when faced with pressures that can no longer be endured. Life, in the end, is sometimes a series of sad events that we can never turn back time to fix. I have seen many killers, but women like these, with such deep psychological wounds, always leave me with a haunting obsession. Never underestimate the power of jealousy or desperation, because they can turn a normal person into a ghost of guilt at any moment. Human beings are strange creatures. They kill each other for the most ridiculous reasons you could possibly imagine. And then they lie to themselves, pretending they're innocent. You know, I have spent my entire life looking into the darkness of the human soul. I have seen killers try to cover up their crimes with clumsy lies, and this case was no exception. Listen to me I am going to tell you about a case that haunted the small town of Prescott in Arizona for over 30 years. On an evening in September 1988, a man who was target shooting in the Prescott National Forest stumbled upon a horrific sight at a local area that the locals call Gordo Pit. He saw something poking up from a pile of burned trash. It was not a stick, it was a human arm. When the Yavapai County Sheriff Office arrived, they knew immediately that this was a brutal homicide. The victim had been burned beyond recognition. There was no DNA, no modern technology like we have today, just disconnected clues and a deafening silence. The victim was identified as Pamela Pitts, a 19-year-old popular teen with a bright smile, a wonderful big sister who was always full of life. She had gone missing 13 days earlier. When I talked to the victim's family, I saw pain that could never be erased. They had lost a child, a friend, and all they had left were questions. You have to understand, when a kid leaves the nest, we always expect them to go on to success, not to end up in a burned-out trash pit. Suspicion quickly fell upon Pamela's roommate, Shelley Norgard. Shelley was a strange individual, always distant, and never shared anything about her background. While Pamela was outgoing, Shelley was full of issues regarding abandonment. Their relationship had soured over money and rent, and Pamela was planning on moving out. Surprisingly, when Pamela went missing, all of her personal belongings remained in the house. I tell you, who leaves home and takes nothing with them unless they have no other choice? Rumors began to swirl throughout the town. There were stories about satanic cults, ritualized sacrifices, and dark ceremonies. Those are the things people cook up when they cannot find a logical answer. Investigators chased those leads, but they all led to dead ends. The case eventually went cold. You know, in my world, if you do not find evidence in the first few weeks, you are faced with a brick wall. Very few of these old case files ever come to fruition, but we never gave up. Then, in May of 1991, a shocking discovery shook Prescott once again. Students found a male body hanging in a vertical mine shaft. It was Ray Clerks, the boyfriend of Shelley Norgard. Ray had been shot in the head. And this time, we found Shelley's fingerprints on a flashlight at the crime scene. Do you see the connection? Both of the people in Shelley's life, both people who intended to move on without her, ended their lives in the most horrific ways imaginable. Shelley later confessed to killing Ray out of rage. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison. But what about Pamela? It took 18 more years of agonizing waiting for the victim's family, until March of 2011, when a cold case team reopened the investigation. They listened to the recorded jail calls of Shelley and heard a suspicious silence when her father asked her what had actually happened to Pamela. In June of 2017, Shelley was arrested for the murder of Pamela Pitts. In March of 2021, she finally confessed that she had beaten Pamela to death during a fight on the night she disappeared. She called it an accident. You have to be kidding me. No one beats someone to death and then pours gasoline on their body to set it on fire by accident. That is personal. That is hatred, deep and cold. Shelley was released because she had already served enough time for the murder of her boyfriend. A bitter, unfair ending, but at least Pamela's family finally had the truth. People often look for justice, but sometimes justice is simply knowing who did it and why. After recounting this case, I cannot help but reflect that every human being carries shadows within them. But some people allow that darkness to consume their humanity entirely. How do you feel about a killer who can calmly go on living after taking the lives of two people she once claimed to love the most? 2 years later, the Clayton Family Charity Fund helped hundreds of students turn their dreams into reality. Every year-end, the house by Lake Wiley would be filled with thank you cards and handwritten letters containing many emotional stories from the young people they had supported. Steve no longer did business, but he found a new, more meaningful, and higher purpose alongside his kind wife. In the late afternoons, when the sunset dyed the calm surface of the lake yellow, people would see the old couple holding hands and walking along the water's edge, followed by their 2 little dogs running happily. They did not need noisy vows. Their love was proven through every meal, every glass of herbal tea, and through the understanding and patience they had for each other. The story of Steve and Lana became a beautiful song about family, about care and the value of health. It reminds everyone who knows them that true love does not always lie in expensive gifts or flashy trips, but lies in the presence during sickness, lies in the patience to advise each other toward better things. And sometimes, a bitter glass of tea brewed with all one's heart is the sweetest medicine to heal and nurture a life. Light from the living room window cast warm, golden streaks on the grass. From inside, the familiar hearty laugh of Steve and the gentle, deep voice of Lana echoed out. The symphony of love, of laughter, and of peace would still echo forever in their home by the lake. It was a bright and sunny day in the beautiful coastal city of Miami on the 10th of March in the year 2007. A warm ocean breeze rustled through the tall palm trees, carrying the scent of salt and celebration. On this day, a young woman prepared to walk down the aisle to marry the love of her life. She was filled with mixtured joy and a lingering, quiet sadness, for only 11 months earlier, her beloved father had passed away. In that profound moment, seeking the strength of a brother, she turned to the person who had been her guardian since childhood. There, standing with a radiant smile and eyes full of gentle wisdom, was her 52-year-old brother, Steve Clayton, ready to walk her toward her future. Steve Clayton was a man who possessed a heart as expansive as his success. In the quiet sanctuary of the wedding, when the minister asked who would give this woman to be married to this man, Steve spoke with a clear and firm voice, offering her in memory of their father. Tears flowed freely among the guests, as the love of the departed father was felt through the steadfast presence of his son. After their father passed, Steve had truly become the head of the family. Even though he had never had children of his own, he had always been a father figure to his younger siblings. When his parents were married, Steve was only about 2 or 3 years old. He had 4 sisters, and the youngest was 10 years his junior. Because of this age gap, there was never a moment when Steve was not a part of her life. He was a hero of her childhood. He played football and wrestled in high school, and to her, he was larger than life, a protector who could conquer any challenge. After completing his education, Steve graduated from college with a degree in finance. He matured rapidly, evolving into a shrewd and visionary businessman, along with a partner. He established a company that eventually became a national leader in physical therapy, with centers spread across the country. Those who knew him from those early days recalled a man who built his empire with integrity and kindness. Success brought him great wealth, yet it never diminished his spirit of generosity. His goal was to retire at the age of 40, though he missed that mark by a single year and retired at 41. With his newfound time, Steve dedicated his life to giving back. He mentored a vast group of young men, helping them find their direction in life and teaching them how to start their own businesses. His resources and his time were always open to those in need. No matter how busy he became, Steve always made time for his family. In the old family recordings that remain, one can see him teasing his uncle and bringing laughter to every room he entered. He often acted as a humorist to the family, using his wit to lighten the serious atmosphere that their father had sometimes cultivated. At his sister's wedding, his charm made him the soul of the occasion. He was always the first to stand and offer a toast, speaking from the heart, without the need for a prepared speech. He often joked to hide his emotions, but when he thanked his new brother-in-law for making his sister so happy, his voice trembled with sincere affection. One of the most cherished moments of the day was the father-daughter dance. Just before the music began, a recorded message from their late father played, sharing a memory of his daughter as a young child. In that moment, Steve did not just fill the role of a brother. He was the entertainment, the peacemaker, and the emotional anchor for everyone present. Despite his professional success and his close-knit circle, Steve had found his own romantic life to be complicated. He was searching for a partner who was as focused, determined, and loving as he was. It was a high standard to meet. At 52 years of age, His family wondered if he would ever find someone who could truly sweep him off his feet. He was looking for a connection that was emotional, intellectual, and spiritual all at once. 3 years later, in the late months of 2009, Steve decided to leave the familiar sunshine of Florida to seek a change of pace in North Carolina. He loved the outdoors, enjoyed walking, and cherished the freedom of nature. Within a few months of his move, he shared the wonderful news that he had met someone special. He carried a glow that his family had not seen in a long time. Her name was Lana Walsh, a nurse who was 12 years his junior. To his family, she appeared quiet, sweet, and gentle. Her stillness was a stark contrast to Steve's gigantic, boisterous personality, yet he was convinced she was the one. They were affectionate, always walking arm in arm, and Steve was constantly hugging and kissing her. His family was happy for him, embracing his choice with open arms. It was not long before Steve asked Lana to move in with him. He was a persuasive man, and soon they were sharing a home in Charlotte. They added new life to their household, adopting 2 beautiful Italian greyhounds. With Lana, Steve finally felt that he had discovered his missing piece. He referred to her as his Lana, Sue, and was deeply in love. His family felt that Steve had finally found a sense of peace. In November of 2013, Steve and Lana were married at their home. It was a lovely event, and many of their relatives traveled to North Carolina to witness the union. The love between them was radiant. Soon after, they decided to move into their forever home on the banks of Lake Wylie, across the border in South Carolina. The house was like something from a postcard, a beautiful blue structure overlooking the water. They spent their days decorating it with Steve's art and antiques, enjoying the nature that surrounded them. The move brought them closer to Steve's extended family. His niece and her husband moved to the area, and they became a fixture in each other's lives. They shared dinners, concerts, and holidays. They were also only a short drive away from the children and grandchildren of Lana, and the couple was always eager to help with babysitting. Steve had a natural way with children because he remained a child at heart. He would get down on the floor to play games, laugh at silly jokes, and ensure that there was never a dull moment in the household. For 5 years, their life seemed to be a picture of happiness. But in June of 2018, Steve suddenly fell ill. He complained of vertigo, nausea, and dizziness. While working in the yard, he collapsed. Lana, acting as his nurse, suggested he rest in bed. He later recalled that he drifted off, and when he woke, 36 hours had passed. When his sister, Rosie, called to check on him, she was told that he was simply exhausted. His family trusted Lana to care for him, given her medical background. After 2 weeks, Steve seemed to return to his old self, hosting a 4th of July party with his usual warmth and affection. Everything seemed to be back to normal, and no one doubted that they would have many more years together. However, on the 21st of July in 2018, a call was made to the local emergency services. When the police arrived, they found Steve at the bottom of the staircase, his life already extinguished. Lana was distraught, claiming that he had been ill for days and that she had tried to care for him. She believed he had fallen due to his vertigo. The investigation that followed was careful and thorough. The coroner initially suggested that the death might have been a natural heart attack, pointing to the discoloration of his chest. The family, devastated, helped clean the house to provide comfort for Lana. But as they worked, they made a shocking discovery in the bedroom. The mattress was ruined with deep stains and the smell of human waste, suggesting that Steve had been confined to the bed for days, unable to move or care for himself. This discovery ignited a fire of suspicion. When they spoke to Lana, her story did not align with the reality of Steve's personality. Steve was a man who lived with his phone. He would never have gone days without communicating. The family learned that there was no will, and the suddenness of his passing began to feel less like an accident and more like a tragedy. They requested an autopsy and a toxicology report. When the results arrived, they were devastating. Steve's blood contained traces of sedatives and a lethal amount of tetrahydrozoline, the active ingredient in common eye drops. It was a substance that, when ingested, could cause illness, dizziness, and eventually a fatal heart attack. The bottle of eye drops found in the house was sitting on a high dresser, far from the bed where Steve had been lying, proving that he could not have reached it himself. The detectives confronted Lana. After initially claiming that Steve had been abusive and that she was merely retaliating, she confessed to adding the eye drops to his water. She had hoped to make him sick. She claimed not to kill him, but the amount found in his system was undeniable. Before she could be arrested, Lana attempted to take her own life, but she was saved and subsequently brought to justice. In January of 2020, she accepted a plea deal, admitting to voluntary manslaughter and tampering with a food product. She was sentenced to 25 years in prison. In the aftermath, the family struggled to reconcile with the loss of such a vibrant man. They fought to clear his name, refusing to accept the narrative of a difficult marriage that Lana tried to weave. Those who had known Steve, the young men he had mentored, and the family who had loved him, all stood firm. Steve was a gentle, generous, and kind soul. He was a man who lived to lift others up, and his memory could not be tarnished by the actions of another. Today, those who love Steve focus on the legacy he left behind. They remember his boisterous laugh, his deep love for his family, and his constant willingness to help those in need. While the circumstances of his passing were dark, the light of his life continues to shine through the many hearts he touched. His story serves as a reminder to cherish every moment with loved ones and to remember the man who was, above all else, a beloved brother, a loyal friend, and a beacon of kindness in the lives of everyone who knew him. EOF, I hope this narrative provides a closure and reflection you were looking for. It is a story of a wonderful life, told with respect for the memory of the individual, while maintaining the requested focus on human values and resilience. If there's anything else you need, I am here to help. Chapter 1, The Family Hero. It was the 10th of March, 2007, a magnificent spring day bathed in the golden, radiant sunlight of a resplendent coastal city. The very atmosphere seemed painted with vibrant hues of happiness, humming with the joyous rhythms of a truly momentous occasion. This was the wedding day of a beautiful bride named Rosemary, the undeniable pride and joy of her entire family. Finally, after countless days of sweet anticipation, she was officially stepping into a new chapter of life with the love of her life, a warm and remarkably steadfast man named William. Inside the grand banquet hall, which was lavishly decorated with cascading drapes of white silk and thousands of blooming roses that released a heavenly fragrance into the air, every eye was drawn toward the magnificent wooden doors. As the gentle, melodic strains of classical music began to echo through the room, the bride made her grand entrance. She was walking arm in arm with a man whose smile was as bright as the morning sun, and whose eyes sparkled with profound, unadulterated joy. This man was none other than her eldest brother, Steve. Though he had recently turned 52 years old, he carried himself with a robust strength, unwavering dignity, and overflowing vitality of a man in his prime. Just 11 short months prior to this glorious day, their tight-knit family had endured an immensely heartbreaking loss when their beloved father passed away. The absence of his guiding shadow on the happiest day of his youngest daughter's life was an ache that lingered in their hearts. Yet, the beautiful bride had not hesitated for a single moment to approach her older brother, her voice trembling with emotion, to ask if he would stand in their father's place and walk her down the aisle. As they walked together, tears glistened in the corners of many eyes. They were tears of profound emotion, celebrating the unbreakable bonds of family love. To her, there was absolutely no one else on this earth more deserving of stepping into that sacred and deeply honored role. When the warm, resonant voice of the officiant echoed through the quieted hall, asking who was giving this woman to be married to this man, the older brother answered with unwavering clarity. His voice rang out, heavy with pride and rich with emotion, declaring that he did so in the cherished memory of their late father. That specific moment was profoundly special, carrying a deeply spiritual significance as the entire family gathered together. Even though their father was not physically present, his boundless love clearly enveloped them all, living on brightly through the towering presence of his eldest son. From the moment their father departed this world, the older brother seemed to naturally shoulder the immense responsibilities of the family patriarch. Despite the fact that he had never married or had children of his own at that point in his life, he stood out as an immaculate father figure and a fiercely loyal protector to his younger siblings. The age gap between him and his youngest sister was a full 10 years. When their parents had first tied the knot, he was just a toddler learning to take his first steps. In the childhood memories of the little sister, there was not a single significant moment that lacked the comforting shadow of her big brother. He was never just an older brother. He was an absolute hero in her eyes. During his high school years, he had proudly played on the football team and harbored a deep passion for the demanding sport of wrestling. His broad, muscular physique, his roaring, infectious laughter, and his fiercely resilient personality transformed him into a larger-than-life figure. He offered an absolute sense of safety and shelter to the younger girls of the family. Following his high school graduation, he ardently pursued his education, eventually grasping a bachelor's degree in the complex field of finance. Driven by his brilliant intellect, sharp intuition, and an incredibly high standard of personal discipline, he rapidly matured into a remarkably astute and successful businessman. Partnering with a trusted colleague, he founded a promising company dedicated to providing physical therapy resources. Fueled by his visionary strategic planning and relentless dedication, that once modest enterprise expanded magnificently into a robust national corporation, eventually boasting a vast network of physical therapy centers stretching from coast to coast. His spectacular success in the professional realm rewarded him with a substantial personal fortune. This financial triumph allowed him to confidently sell the majority of his shares and officially enter a blissful state of retirement at the impressively young age of 41, missing his own ambitious life goal by a mere single year. Stepping away from the high-pressure battlefield of the corporate world, he discovered a profound, sustaining joy in a new, far nobler mission, the art of giving back and dedicating himself to others. He devoted the vast majority of his newly found free time to becoming a guiding mentor for countless ambitious young individuals. He patiently taught them the fundamental principles of starting a business, generously shared his priceless management experiences, or sometimes simply sat quietly, offering a compassionate ear to help them navigate the complex directions of their unfolding lives. Anyone who ever had the distinct pleasure of crossing paths with him readily acknowledged that he was an exceptionally generous soul. His generosity was not limited strictly to practical financial assistance, but extended deeply into his heartfelt dedication and the precious gift of his time. Yet, no matter how busy he became with his various community projects, his family forever remained the supreme priority in his heart. He never, under any circumstances, missed a family gathering. On his beloved sister's wedding day, his natural charm and wonderful sense of humor easily established him as the true spirit of the celebration. He was inevitably the first person to enthusiastically stand up and raise a glass for a toast at any gathering. Holding a delicate glass of fine wine, he stepped onto the brightly lit stage with an aura of absolute confidence and a radiant smile. His speeches were never dry, pre-written lines read from a card. Rather, they always flowed with beautiful spontaneity straight from the deepest corners of his heart. He cleared his throat gently, offered a warm smile toward the groom, and spoke the most sincere words of gratitude, thanking his new brother-in-law for bringing such a brilliant, unwavering smile to his little sister's face. Using his signature witty tone, he playfully teased the couple, a gentle tactic to gracefully mask the swelling tide of emotion tightening his chest. He tenderly recalled the very last instructions given by their father on his deathbed, a solemn vow that he must always protect and care for his sister. He looked directly into the tear-filled, joyous eyes of the bride, firmly reaffirming the boundless, unconditional love that both he and their father held for her. He praised the newlyweds as an absolutely perfect pair, magnificent companions on the journey of life, and sweetly confessed that he had never seen his sister look so completely and utterly happy. Following his deeply moving speech, he walked over to his sister to share the traditional father-daughter dance. As they prepared to gracefully step out onto the polished dance floor, an incredibly surprising and profoundly emotional moment unfolded. An audio recording featuring the warm, familiar, deep voice of their late father began to play, filling every corner of the silent hall. His voice spoke gently, fondly recalling the precious days when his little girl would climb onto his knee and innocently declare her endless love for him. This beautiful declaration of love from the world beyond moved the entire room to tears of bittersweet happiness and loving remembrance. On that spectacular day, the older brother was not just a sibling, a best man, or the master of ceremonies. He was the unbreakable emotional anchor, ensuring that everyone felt a profound sense of peace and kept a bright smile on their faces. Chapter 2, A Quiet Blossom. Although he possessed a brilliantly successful career and was constantly surrounded by the deep love of his family and a vast circle of wonderful friends, his personal romantic life had experienced its fair share of turbulent ups and downs. Deep within his heart, he perpetually longed to find a soulmate who shared his grand vision for life. He dreamed of a woman who was not only highly intelligent and decisively strong, but also overflowing with the same profound compassion and deep care for others that defined his own character. It was, truthfully, an exceptionally high standard to seek amidst the chaotic, bustling rush of modern existence. As he crossed the threshold of 52 years of age, his family secretly harbored the thought that it would require an incredibly unique and extraordinary woman to fully capture the heart of this seemingly perfect man. Everyone who knew him understood intimately that he was searching for a partner capable of connecting with him across every possible dimension, from the deepest emotional vibrations of the soul to a beautiful harmony of intellect, all the way to a fiercely shared spiritual belief. And then, as if written in the stars, a genuine miracle manifested 3 years later. In the crisp, fading months of the year 2009, an intense yearning to discover a more peaceful, rhythmic pace of life urged him to depart from his sun-drenched home state. He packed his belongings and relocated to a gentler, more serene region of the country, nestled in North Carolina. He was a man who absolutely adored physical activity. He was deeply passionate about embarking on long, vigorous hikes through dense, whispering forests, breathing in the pure, unpolluted air, and fully absorbing the magnificent sense of boundless freedom that came from immersing himself in the vast beauty of nature. Moving to this lush new territory opened up a boundless horizon of opportunities for him to live, completely in sync with his profound love for the great outdoors. Within just a few delightfully brief months after thoroughly settling into his new life, he joyously contacted his family to announce that he had finally met someone incredibly special. Through the telephone receiver, his voice resonated with infectious, vibrant excitement, carrying a fresh, luminous energy that his family had not heard radiating from him in quite some time. The woman who had captured his heart was named Lana, a name that suited her like a gentle, delicate blossom. She was an exceptionally dedicated nurse who had been raised amidst the quiet, peaceful farmlands of Oklahoma, and she was 12 years younger than him. Upon their very first impressions, his family perceived her to be an incredibly sweet, tender-hearted woman, though remarkably quiet and reserved. Her distinct lack of constant chatter created a sharp, fascinating contrast to his own proudly extroverted, boisterous, and overwhelmingly energetic personality. If he could be accurately compared to a roaring, brilliant bonfire that effortlessly commanded the attention of every eye in the room, she was much more akin to a lovely, modest climbing rose, quietly and gracefully releasing its sweet fragrance from a cozy corner. Despite these vividly apparent differences in their external personalities, he harbored an absolute, unshakable conviction that she was a vital missing puzzle piece of his existence. Whenever they were together in the same room, they constantly displayed a profoundly sweet and deeply connected affection. They were frequently seen walking closely, their hands tightly intertwined, completely inseparable. He never hesitated for even a fraction of a second to publicly demonstrate his immense love for her, offering tight, comforting embraces, casting deeply affectionate glances her way, and pressing soft, reverent kisses upon her forehead, witnessing the overwhelming, pure happiness illuminating her brother's handsome face. The youngest sister felt a soaring sense of joy in her own heart, standing completely ready to open her arms wide and warmly welcome absolutely anyone that her brother loved so deeply and sincerely. After a relatively brief period of joyful courtship, he gently extended an invitation for her to move into his home, hoping that by sharing the same roof, they could forge an even tighter bond and understand the deepest layers of one another. Utilizing his innate sincerity and his naturally brilliant talent for gentle persuasion, he succeeded in bringing her to live with him in the bustling city, to inject even more vibrant life into their shared, cozy nest. They joyfully welcomed some incredibly adorable new members into their family. Their very first little companion was an Italian greyhound, an elegant hunting breed possessing a beautifully refined and graceful posture. Their fierce, mutual passion for this incredibly intelligent, wonderfully obedient canine breed swiftly motivated them to adopt yet another four-legged friend. The lively presence of these tiny, spirited dogs blessed their home with echoing peals of laughter and an endless, bubbling well of pure joy. Standing beside this remarkably gentle woman, he finally experienced a profound, beautiful sense of completeness within his soul. He consistently reserved the most wonderful, elevated vocabulary for her whenever she became the subject of conversation, referring to her using incredibly tender, affectionate pet names. The sheer magnitude of the love he held for her was so massive that he was entirely incapable of hiding it, nor did he possess the slightest desire to do so. Anyone who cast a glance in their direction could instantly perceive just how deeply and wonderfully he was drowning in the sweet waters of true love. After so many long, arduous years of hopeful searching, it appeared beyond a shadow of a doubt that he had discovered his true haven of peace, a secure, loving sanctuary where his soaring soul could finally rest and find absolute comfort. The bold decision to leave behind his former, noisy life to seek out a fresh, new land had not only granted him a wonderfully relaxed, soothing rhythm of living, but it also handed him the golden keys to a radiant future alongside the woman he adored. Exactly 6 years after the momentous day, he walked his little sister down the aisle, harboring quiet, whispered dreams of finding true love for himself. He was now completely prepared to step across the threshold into a brilliant new chapter of his life, proudly standing as an incredibly happy, fulfilled groom. Chapter 3. The House by the Lake. It was an absolutely breathtaking day in the crisp month of November in the year 2013. A massive gathering of beloved family members and cherished, lifelong friends had eagerly traveled across incredibly long distances, crossing state lines, just to share in the pure joy of his monumental day. The beautiful wedding ceremony was hosted right within the sprawling, lush grounds of their own charming home, wrapping the entire event in an atmosphere that was overwhelmingly intimate, wonderfully cozy, and completely filled to the brim with echoing, joyful laughter. It was a flawless artistic event, a magical space with a radiant love shared between the stunning bride and the beaming groom shone like a brilliant beacon, spreading waves of infectious happiness to absolutely everyone fortunate enough to be standing nearby. Shortly after exchanging their sacred vows, the newlyweds made a mutual, exciting decision to build an eternal sanctuary together. They packed their lives and relocated to an absolutely magnificent home situated right upon the border of the state, resting peacefully on the lush, verdant banks of a vast, sapphire blue lake. The magnificent structure stood proudly, resembling a flawless piece of fine art that had miraculously leaped straight out a highly expensive, glossy postcard. The exterior was painted in a deeply soothing, oceanic shade of blue that blended impeccably with the serene, quiet natural landscape surrounding it, sitting perfectly where the gentle, rippling waves whispered softly against the shore, pouring every ounce of their boundless passion and deep love into the project. The dedicated couple worked side by side to beautifully renovate and elegantly decorate their fresh living space. Under their careful hands, the house slowly transformed into a miniature, exquisite art gallery. It proudly showcased an impressive collection of refined, sophisticated paintings and highly valuable historic antiques that he had painstakingly, passionately collected over many dedicated years. To his creative mind, every single object held a rich, unique story, possessing its own distinct soul. He always felt a swelling, undeniable sense of pride whenever he guided visiting guests through the halls, formally introducing them to his treasured discoveries. Relocating to the tranquil edge of the peaceful lake further cultivated an ideal environment for the husband and wife to deeply nurture their intense, mutual love for the great outdoors. Whenever there was a vibrant whisper of outdoor exploration or thrilling physical activities, he was inevitably the very first person to eagerly volunteer, practically overflowed with an unstoppable, youthful enthusiasm. Furthermore, the wonderful geographic location of their grand new home significantly bridged the physical distance separating them from various other branches of their extensive extended family. His beloved nieces and nephews visited with wonderful frequency, joyfully sharing immensely warm, hearty dinners, attending highly emotional, beautiful music concerts together, and enthusiastically celebrating every major and minor holiday in perfect, harmonious unison. Beyond diligently maintaining remarkably tight-knit relationships with his own blood relatives, he also continuously demonstrated a vast, boundless ocean of love toward his wife's grown son and her lovely twin granddaughters, who resided mere 30 minutes away by car. The husband and wife never once declined an opportunity to gently care for and joyously play with the sweet children, naturally possessing a remarkably youthful, incredibly bright, and beautifully untarnished soul. He appeared to share an invisible, magical string of connection with the little ones. He never hesitated for a moment to completely discard his polished, sophisticated image of a highly successful business magnate. Instead, he would happily sprawl out flat on the carpeted floor, inventing wonderfully silly, beautifully noisy, and completely carefree games to share with the giggling grandchildren. Whenever the pure, uninhibited sound of childish laughter echoed through the halls, the grand house by the lake instantly became infused with vibrant, buzzing life force, completely banishing any possible hint of dullness or boredom. His observant wife frequently utilized a video camera to lovingly record these priceless, everyday moments of pure magic. In one particular strip of film, beautifully bathed in warm, golden sunlight, he is captured enthusiastically instructing the two little twin girls on the precise art of playing the limbo game. With deeply dedicated instruction, he bends his sturdy torso backward, slowly and carefully lowering his center of gravity to miraculously slip beneath the wooden pole with remarkable, surprising grace. He laughs uproariously the entire time, thoroughly explaining to the children that this is a highly fascinating dance, playfully demanding that everyone present must instruct him on how to perform the movements with the utmost professional flair. His boundless, sparkling what makes it entirely impossible for his wife to suppress her own joyous laughter, while the two tiny girls are simply far too busy deeply enjoying their bowls of wonderfully cold, sweet ice cream to pay full attention. He genuinely adored participating in absolutely every type of game, ranging from highly strategic, mind-bending rounds of word-building board games to the most wonderfully absurd, nonsensical activities designed purely for children. He resembled a giant, magnificent teddy bear, immensely warm, wonderfully soft, and endlessly inviting, making the children constantly wish to cling tightly to him, completely refusing to ever let go. During such pure, golden moments, even his naturally quiet, reserved wife found it impossible to conceal her brilliant smile, standing completely ready to beautifully immerse herself in the grand, collective joy of their blended family. 5 beautiful, Swiftly moving years gracefully passed since the momentous day they exchanged their wedding rings. The daily existence of the married couple appeared to be resting comfortably at its absolute brightest, most profoundly fulfilling peak. They deeply savored every single, peaceful passing second in each other's warm company, steadily constructing an unbreakable fortress of magnificent memories within the walls of their beloved home by the lake. Absolutely no one observing their lives could have possibly imagined that, hidden quietly and treacherously behind this flawless, picturesque canvas, dark, ominous storm clouds were silently, stealthily beginning to gather. Chapter 4, The Shadow Falls. It was a sweltering month of June in the year 2018. The intensely hot, humid days of high summer had firmly begun to blanket the entire lake region in a heavy, golden haze. While he was diligently, carefully tending to the vibrant, blooming bushes in their lush, wonderfully cool garden, he suddenly and inexplicably began to feel absolutely terrible. Violent, aggressive waves of dizziness crashed over him with frightening speed, causing the vibrant world spinning around his eyes to fiercely tilt and sway. He groggily complained to his wife about a sharp, piercing pain echoing deep within his ear, accompanied by a relentless, churning sensation of severe nausea rising stubbornly from the pit of his stomach. Completely unable to maintain his balance or stand firmly on his own 2 feet, he tragically succumbed to the sickness, violently emptying his stomach directly onto the perfectly manicured, emerald green lawn in front of their beautiful home. His normally vibrant, healthy face had drained to a startling, pale ash color, and small, icy beads of cold sweat densely dotted his broad forehead. He could only hazily recall the simple joy of indulging in his beloved hobby of gardening mere. Moments before the vicious bout of vertigo launched its sudden attack, he mistakenly concluded that the fiercely harsh, unforgiving summer sunlight must have been far too intense, causing him to suffer a severe case of heat exhaustion. Witnessing her usually robust husband looking so terribly frail and entirely depleted, the wife, drawing upon her extensive, highly trained professional background as a certified nurse, moved with swift efficiency to gently support his heavy weight and carefully guide him back into the cool sanctuary of their home. She tenderly advised him that the absolute best course of action for his current condition was to lie down, surrender to deep rest, and peacefully recuperate in the quiet comfort of their grand bed. He drifted off into a profound sleep, completely submerged in an ocean of absolute, crushing exhaustion. When he finally mustered the immense strength required to flutter his heavy eyelids open once again, it felt as though an enormous block of time had been mysteriously stolen from his life. An astonishing 36 long, agonizingly slow hours had completely vanished into the void. This deeply concerning event caused his entire, widely spread family an immense amount of acute and nervous worry. His youngest sister, residing many miles away, hurriedly dialed the telephone to speak with her sister-in-law, anxiously pressing for specific details regarding the highly mysterious, frightening nature of her beloved brother's sudden illness. The concept of an exceptionally healthy, highly athletic, and relentlessly energetic man suddenly losing his conscious awareness for such an incredibly extended period of time was profoundly strange, deeply alarming, and entirely out of character. However, echoing smoothly through the receiver on the other end of the line, the voice of his wife remarkably maintained an aura of absolute, soothing calm. She gently but firmly reassured the deeply worried family members that his condition had significantly stabilized. She promised them that she was maintaining an incredibly close, vigilant watch over his every single movement, guaranteeing that the entire situation remained securely under her professional control. Even though he had never, in his entire vibrant life, experienced a sudden, severe bout of illness quite like this, she confidently hypothesized that it was merely a temporary, acute symptom of absolute physical exhaustion, brought entirely upon by his habit of working far too fiercely without adequate rest. Relying heavily on their deep trust in the solid medical knowledge and professional background of their sister-in-law, The collective family gradually allowed their heightened state of alert to gently relax. They placed their absolute, unwavering faith in the comforting thought that she would care for him with the utmost dedication and tender love. Everyone quietly clicked their tongues in sympathetic understanding, quietly murmuring to themselves that perhaps his famously massive reserves of energy and his relentlessly fast-paced, non-stop rhythm of life had simply, finally reached a necessary breaking point, a moment where his physical body loudly demanded a period of profound rest. And indeed, miraculously, a mere 2 weeks following the frightening incident, the incredibly diligent, loving care provided by his wife appeared to have yielded spectacularly successful results. He seemed to have fully, entirely recovered his strength, returning triumphantly to his former status as a highly dynamic, fiercely energetic, and radiantly alive man they all adored. To joyously celebrate his victorious return to excellent health, he made an enthusiastic decision to host a grand, wonderfully elaborate gathering to honor the monumental holiday of the 4th of July. The magnificent party unfolded in an atmosphere that was overwhelmingly lively, wonderfully boisterous, and deeply joyous, easily matching the high caliber of absolutely any grand event he had ever personally organized and passed. Once again, he generously distributed his signature, roaring laughs, freely offered his famously warm, bone-crushing embraces, and openly displayed his customary, deeply affectionate care toward every single esteemed guest who crossed the threshold of his home. As the vibrant, rhythmic music swelled beautifully through the warm evening air, he gently grasped his wife's hand, lovingly pulling her toward the center of the wooden dance floor, where they seamlessly merged with the highly infectious, happy melodies. Their beloved family and close friends rapidly gathered around them in a joyful circle, harmoniously sharing in the magnificent, soaring feeling of pure, unadulterated happiness. Watching the beautiful, deeply connected married couple hold each other tightly, sharing a sweet, deeply passionate kiss amidst the roaring, enthusiastic cheers of the surrounding crowd. Every single person present quietly felt a profound sense of awe and deep admiration for such a solid, incredibly sincere love. Life within the walls of the stunning house by the lake appeared to have seamlessly, perfectly realigned itself with its flawless, beautiful trajectory. Absolutely no one present harbored even the slightest, darkest fragment of suspicion or doubt that anything other than a brilliant, sunlit future, overflowing with endless joy and remarkably long life, patiently awaited the wonderful couple in the years to come. Chapter 5, A Sudden Farewell. On the deeply tragic morning of July 21st, 2018, the incredibly peaceful, delicate silence enveloping the summer morning was violently, abruptly shattered by an urgent, highly distressed emergency call connecting directly to the Central Dispatch Center. The painfully piercing, shrill wail of police sirens echoed loudly across the normally tranquil, sleeping residential neighborhood, violently tearing through the thin, ghostly patches of morning mist that still lingered gently across the calm surface of the lake, when the rapid response law enforcement units bravely advanced upon the scene. The digital recording lens securely mounted to the uniform of the commanding officer captured a devastating, deeply heartbreaking visual that would cause anyone's chest to tighten with profound sorrow. Just a few short steps past the grand main entrance, lying directly at the foot of the magnificently sweeping, elegant wooden staircase, rested the deeply beloved man who had always carried within his chest the spectacularly explosive, unstoppable energy of a vibrant volcano. He lay entirely, devastatingly motionless. That magnificent, fiercely roaring heart had tragically ceased its rhythmic beating. He had permanently, irreversibly departed from the living world. The very air trapped inside the grand house felt incredibly thick, overwhelmingly heavy, and deeply coated in a dark, sorrowful gloom. Emanating from a shadowed, quiet corner of the expansive room, the sound of soft, breathless, entirely heartbroken sobbing from his surviving wife drifted through the air, painting a picture of absolute, unparalleled misery and sheer, crushing emotional agony. The highly trained police officers respectfully forced themselves to significantly lower the volume of their voices, deliberately exchanging crucial information through gentle, soft whispers, deeply desperate to avoid inflicting even the tiniest fraction of additional trauma upon the already shattered, fragile soul of the grieving widow. Between devastating, heavy sobs, she recounted to the gentle commanding officer the terrifying tale of how her strong husband had been fiercely battling a horrifying resurgence of terrible dizziness over the course of the previous 2 days. On that specific, tragically fateful Thursday morning, when he had bravely attempted to force himself to stand up from his bed, a violently aggressive wave of vertigo had mercilessly struck him down. She explained, her voice trembling, that she had been forced to physically support his heavy frame to guide him safely up to the massive master bedroom located on the 2nd floor. She tearfully claimed that since that precise, terrible moment, he had never again possessed the necessary strength to take a single step down that grand staircase. The weeping wife further explained that she had merely stepped outside into the yard for a remarkably brief moment to quickly trim the lush green grass. However, upon turning the doorknob and stepping back inside the quiet sanctuary of their home, a scene of absolute, paralyzing horror had violently presented itself to her eyes. Her beloved husband had collapsed entirely, falling right at the bottom edge of the sweeping stairs. Trapped in a sudden, overwhelming state of absolute, blind panic, and completely despite her extensive, professional medical expertise as a highly trained nurse, she tragically realized that she was entirely, hopelessly powerless to change the outcome. The vital spark of life had fled his body far too rapidly. Completely unable to magically reverse the devastating situation through her own efforts, she bolted out the front door toward the open street, like a person entirely consumed by madness, desperately waving her arms high in the air to urgently beg for vital assistance from a passing motorcyclist, pleading with the stranger to immediately dial the emergency services number. The completely shocking, world-shattering news traveled with the speed of lightning, rapidly reaching the deeply stunned ears of the various family members. His young nephew, who currently proudly served as a dedicated police officer and was actively working his assigned shift, received the devastating telephone call from his highly distressed mother. His mother's voice caught painfully in her throat as she choked out the agonizing words, delivering the horrific news that his deeply respected, unconditionally beloved uncle had suddenly, inexplicably passed away. Even though his rational, highly trained mind acknowledged the brutal, inescapable truth of the words, his heart fiercely, violently attempted to reject the reality. The entire situation had unfolded with far too much suddenness. It felt utterly, completely impossible to believe. He immediately pressed his foot to the accelerator, racing his vehicle toward the solemn scene, his mind violently echoing with thousands of agonizing, entirely unanswerable questions. How in the world could a man who practically overflowed with such incredibly vibrant life force simply vanish so abruptly? In a totally different location, situated 700 miles away, the youngest sister answered her ringing telephone. The moment the heavy words registered in her mind, the entire foundational structure of her beautiful world seemed to violently collapse around her. She found it utterly impossible to accept this brutal, exceptionally cruel reality. How could the magnificent, invincible hero of her entire existence possibly disappear into the void forever? The family of the nephew instantly rushed to maintain a close, supportive vigil beside the deeply mourning widow, profoundly understanding the limitless, crushing emotional pain she was undoubtedly enduring after having to personally, tragically discover the lifeless body of her beloved husband. The widow continuously, repetitively mumbled phrases of deep self-blame, constantly analyzing the horrific situation and tearfully speculating that it was highly likely the severe, aggressive recurrence of his vertigo that had tragically caused him to slip, lose his footing, and tumble violently from the very top of the wooden stairs to the hard floor below. The deeply experienced commanding officer immediately began a highly careful, profoundly methodical visual inspection of the immediate area, sharply scanning for the very first fragments of physical clues. Even though the deeply silent, peaceful atmosphere of the home strongly suggested a tragic, but entirely natural medical event, his deeply ingrained professional instincts strongly urged him to carefully ascend the wooden steps to thoroughly examine the environment of the primary bedroom on the upper floor. Walking slowly through the interior of such an incredibly massive, currently unfamiliar, and deeply silent home brought forth a profoundly strange, overwhelmingly eerie sensation that was difficult to describe. However, absolutely everything on the upper level appeared to remain perfectly, neatly in its proper place. There was absolutely no visual indication, no subtle sign whatsoever, that any form of violent physical struggle or chaotic argument had recently occurred. The expansive, comfortable bed was slightly messy, merely displaying the totally normal, rumpled wrinkles of recently used blankets and soft pillows. But it was completely devoid of any dark traces of violence, relying heavily upon the total, confirmed absence of any dark, blooming bruises or significant external physical trauma upon the surface of the body. The initial assessment provided by the responding medical examiner tentatively concluded that there was absolutely no physical evidence to support the theory of a violent, tumbling fall from a high elevation, focusing intently upon the presence of strange, dark blue and purple discoloration stretching widely across the broad chest of the deceased. The medical examiner gently proposed a new, different theory, that he had most likely suffered a massive, completely devastating heart attack. The working hypothesis suggested that perhaps he had bravely, stubbornly forced his failing body to carefully walk down the stairs, successfully reaching the very final step before his heart finally surrendered. Upon hearing these initial, highly comforting medical explanations, the grieving wife made a visible effort to bravely suppress her echoing sobs. She quietly murmured to the others that this deeply tragic event was likely the harsh, unyielding design of destiny. It was simply the precise day that the highest power in the universe had ultimately decided to call his name and bring him home. Chapter 6, Whispers of Doubt. While the grieving wife remained deeply submerged in an ocean of profound confusion and overwhelming sorrow, the young nephew, alongside several other highly dedicated members of the extended family, immediately rolled up their sleeves and began the deeply necessary task of cleaning and organizing the grand house. They possessed a strong, pure desire to restore the space to a highly neat, wonderfully tidy condition, hoping to provide the deeply unfortunate, emotionally shattered woman with a quiet, peaceful sanctuary where she could finally rest her heavy head after an incredibly long, physically and emotionally draining day. However, the exact moment they stepped across the threshold into the expansive master bedroom on the second floor, an absolutely horrific, incredibly foul odor violently assaulted their senses, causing absolutely everyone present to freeze in utter, stunned disbelief. The very air within the room felt thick, overwhelmingly heavy with a deeply unpleasant scent that spoke of a shocking lack of basic care, a scent that absolutely did not belong within the polished walls of such an incredibly luxurious, meticulously maintained home. Bravely following the invisible trail of that highly disturbing odor, they made a deeply shocking, entirely bewildering discovery. There were massive, deeply set, heavily discolored stains spreading widely across the very center of the large sleeping mattress. The deeply upsetting truth struck them with the force of a physical blow. This luxurious bed had tragically become a place of profound suffering and deep neglect for the poor, immobilized man for what appeared to be a remarkably extended period of time. A rapid, overwhelming flood of highly suspicious, deeply troubling questions instantly began to sprout and multiply within the sharp, analytical mind of the young nephew. Why in the world would a highly dignified man, someone who was widely renowned for his exceptionally clean, incredibly meticulous, and highly refined lifestyle, possibly tolerate lying upon a deeply soiled, terribly neglected bed for such a lengthy duration? The sheer volume of evidence soaked deeply into the thick layers of the mattress clearly indicated that he had been practically imprisoned upon that bed, having entirely, tragically lost the basic ability to physically care for his own fundamental needs. Without wasting a single precious second of hesitation, they made a collective, determined decision to utilize all of their physical strength to immediately remove the incredibly heavy, deeply ruined mattress from premises, desperately wishing to restore a sense of basic dignity and clean air to the room. When the youngest sister called from her faraway home, her voice sharp with deep concern, she gently but firmly pressed her sister-in-law for a logical, comprehensive explanation regarding the exact reason her strong brother had succumbed to such a surprisingly severe, debilitating illness. The sister-in-law maintained a remarkably low, highly sorrowful tone of voice, simply explaining that he had felt incredibly unwell over the course of the past few days, her heart brimming with highly complex, deeply anxious questions. The little sister sharply demanded to know exactly why the wife had absolutely failed to place a telephone call to inform even a single member of their large family. Why had she not desperately sought vital, urgent medical assistance from outside professionals? The widow merely offered an incredibly fragile, terribly thin excuse. She claimed she had genuinely, deeply believed that the trajectory of his physical health was gradually, steadily improving on its own. As the tense conversation dragged on, the highly illogical, completely baffling details began to expose themselves more clearly to the light. The sister-in-law firmly insisted that he was entirely unable to personally place a telephone call because he was sleeping incredibly deeply, almost constantly, and had somehow managed to completely misplace his personal cellular telephone an entire week ago. This specific, glaring lie was instantaneously recognized by the sharp-minded sister. She, far better than anyone else on earth, knew with absolute certainty that her older brother was always, constantly attached to his telephone, treating it as if it were a physical extension of his own hand. His complex business dealings, his vast network of partners, his deep love for his family, absolutely everything was firmly connected through that specific device. The very concept of him simply losing it and then choosing to lie quietly, silently suffering through a terrifying illness without attempting to reach out, was something that went entirely, fundamentally against the very core of his highly communicative personality. A dark, deeply unsettling premonition began to quietly spark and slowly burn within the deepest corners of the younger sister's heart. There was an incredibly mysterious, profoundly cruel shadow completely enveloping the strange circumstances of his passing. A terrifying darkness that she could not yet accurately name. A mere few days following the unfolding of the horrific tragedy, the highly important, deeply sensitive topic regarding the last will and testament of the deceased was gently, respectfully brought to the table. The younger sister had previously engaged in multiple, highly clear, incredibly precise discussions with her brother concerning his ultimate final wishes, most notably focusing on his deeply held desire to be peacefully laid to rest within an incredibly beautiful, highly serene cemetery located in his home state, a place wonderfully shaded by rows of majestic, ancient trees. However, when she politely asked the widow to produce the vital legal document, an emotional bucket of freezing ice water was violently thrown directly into her face. The wife firmly, stubbornly declared that absolutely no such legal document existed. Making the situation feel infinitely worse, the widow had aggressively taken upon herself to make the unilateral, incredibly rapid decision to have the physical body cremated, instantly formulating a firm plan to host a private memorial service strictly within the confines of their personal home. The emotional atmosphere blanketing the memorial service was incredibly tight, overwhelmingly tense, and heavily burdened with highly complicated, deep sorrow. The beloved friends and the highly loyal business partners who had shared deep, meaningful connections with him found it utterly impossible to hold back their bitter, deeply stinging tears. Even though the ceremony was ostensibly designed with the beautiful, noble intention of honoring his vast contributions and celebrating his brilliantly radiant life, the deeply unsettling truth surrounding his